Before we dive in, imagine standing alone on a hostile alien moon, surrounded by ruthless mercenaries who mock your every breath, until something emerges from the shadows that makes even them tremble. If you want more stories where humans shock the galaxy, make sure to like this video, comment your favorite moment down below, and subscribe for more HFY tales every week. Now, let's begin. The transport shuttle rumbled as it descended, old thrusters rattling against the rocky moon's thin atmosphere. Through the narrow viewing slit, Lucas Vance saw nothing but gray dust plains streaked with dark iron ridges, all bathed in the poisonous light of a bloated gas giant overhead. Its swirling orange and ochre clouds filled half the sky, looming like a silent god. The shuttle landed with a harsh metallic scrape. Before the hatch even finished opening, an acrid scent of sulfur and ozone drifted in, burning Lucas's nostrils. He swallowed against his dry throat, flexing his gloved fingers. His pulse thudded in his ears, almost drowning out the raucous laughter that greeted him. 4 towering figures approached across the landing pad, weapons strapped across bulky armored bodies. Their plating gleamed with scratches and dents earned from years of brutal contracts. The leader, a reptilian giant with dull green scales and segmented plating fused to his chest, bared jagged teeth in a predatory grin. "Look what the recruiters dragged in," he hissed, voice low and guttural. Another pink-skinned child hoping to play soldier. Lucas stepped down from the shuttle ramp, boots crunching onto the dusty alloy pad. His gear was minimal, a matte black tactical suit, an old coil rifle slung over his back, and a single duffel bag carried tight against his chest. His hair was dark and cropped short, revealing a faint scar across his temple. Despite the adrenaline coursing through him, his hazel eyes remained calm, scanning the mercenary camp beyond. Rows of modular containers stacked 2 stories high formed barracks, armories and command offices. Weapons were everywhere, leaned against crates, hung from magnetic strips, clutched idly by lounging soldiers. Campfires burned between the container rows, where mercenaries gathered to drink ration liquor and gnaw on roasted alien meats. Overhead, anti-aircraft emplacements pointed skyward, guarding against orbital raids. A low vibration filled the air from mining drills kilometers away, clawing through the moon's crust for precious alloys. "Hey rookie!" shouted another mercenary, this one an insectoid with segmented black armor and 6 eyes glimmering beneath its helmet. It clicked its mandibles in amusement, pointing a long-barreled sniper rifle at Lucas casually, as though checking its scope alignment. "You sure you're in the right place? Last I heard, Earthlings were only good for farm work and crying when they get a paper cut." Lucas ignored the sting in his thigh where his equipment straps dug into flesh. He shifted his duffel higher on his shoulder and walked forward, his gaze lowered just enough to avoid direct confrontation but never submissive. Each step felt deliberate. He would not give them the satisfaction of seeing his fear. Not here. Not now. Captain Grov, the reptilian leader, stepped into his path, looming nearly 3 heads taller. The scales across his broad snout bore dozens of small ritual scars. His heavy tail flicked once, making the gravel scatter underfoot. Lucas's eyes flicked briefly to the heavy plasma repeater slung across Grov's back, scarred, scorched, and still gleaming with fresh maintenance oil. "Listen here, pink skin," Grov rumbled, leaning down until his sulfurous breath washed across Lucas's face. "We don't babysit recruits. We don't wipe your tears when you scream for your mama. You die out here, we strip your corpse for rations and credits. Understand?" Lucas said nothing for a heartbeat, simply holding Grov's slit-pupiled gaze. Then he gave a single curt nod. "Understood." Grov blinked slowly, then snorted, standing to his full height. The other mercenaries burst out laughing. The insectoid slapped one chitinous claw against the cargo crate beside it, mandibles clicking in delight. "Did you hear that?" it crowed. "He understands. How long before the razor lurks get him, you think? 5 minutes? 10? I say he pisses himself before his first kill." A hulking armored humanoid stepped forward, plating dull gray with streaks of dried blood along its gauntlets. Its voice crackled from an external speaker. "I bet he screams when he sees one." Grov chuckled, an ugly, throaty sound. "Place your bets, boys. But first." He reached down, flicking the side of Lucas's tactical helmet with a claw tip, hard enough to jolt his head sideways. "Try not to die in the first hour. Cleaning human guts out of rock crevices is tedious." The other mercenaries laughed again, their harsh voices echoing across the landing pad as Lucas adjusted his helmet silently. He kept his face blank, though his hands clenched tighter around his duffel strap. He could feel the sweat cooling under his suit, his heart hammering with a sick rhythm against his ribs. But his mind was steady. He had trained for this moment far from prying eyes, under harsher masters than these. He thought briefly of the small item nestled safely in his chest pocket, a carved whistle etched with runes that flickered faint blue under touch. He kept his thoughts guarded, unwilling to let them see even a flicker of meaning in his eyes. Sergeant Thrask. Grov barked over his shoulder. A bulky armored figure emerged from a cluster of mercenaries beside a weapons crate, carrying a data slate. Thrask had a broad, muscular build and blunt facial features, his exposed skin marked with tattoos denoting kill counts, planets visited and units served. His gaze was bored as he scrolled the slate with thick fingers. Lucas Vance, human male, Earth origin colony, no formal combat deployments. Minor training certifications. Assigned to perimeter patrol rotation effective immediately. Lucas accepted the data slate handed to him, scanning the location markers highlighting a 15-kilometer sweep across the moon's barren southern ridges. He nodded, locking the slate to his wristband's data port. Thrask grunted. You'll be with Echo Patrol. Stay out of their way. You hear gunfire, keep your head down. Grov smirked, leaning close again, his slit eyes narrowing. Welcome to the pack, pink skin. Try not to bleed on my boots. Lucas inclined his head once more, turning away before the laughter could follow him further. He moved past a group of armored insectoids sharpening long-boned daggers and past two hulking brutes wrestling beside a stack of plasma canisters, their roars vibrating the containers. The heavy weight of eyes burned between his shoulder blades with every step. He reached the armory container marked Echo 17 and keyed the access panel with his new identifier. The magnetic locks clunked open, revealing a cramped room lined with shelves of plasma cartridges, ration bricks and stackable explosive charges. A battered locker at the far end flickered with his name freshly overlaid in blue holographic text. Lucas placed his duffel bag on the floor with deliberate care. He unclipped his coil rifle, inspecting the breech and power feed. Dust clung to his gloves as he checked each contact point, ensuring there would be no malfunctions today. His thigh still throbbed where the strap had cut into skin, but pain meant little now. Only preparation mattered. He reached into his chest pocket and brushed his fingers across the carved whistle. Its surface was cool and smooth, engraved with a stylized wolf head biting down on a crescent moon. A brief flicker of memory lit across his mind, a dark forest back home under pale blue suns, massive paws crunching frozen leaves beside him, a deep rumbling growl echoing between trees. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the pain in his chest ease. His comm implant crackled to life. Rookie. Patrol deployment in 5 minutes. Report to Southgate or you're cleaning latrines all week. Copy, Lucas said quietly. The line clicked off without acknowledgement. He slid the whistle back into his pocket and secured the flap. Slinging his rifle over his shoulder, he left the armory container behind. The camp outside was alive with noise, engines humming as armored transports rolled out, drills pounding into rock beyond the perimeter walls, mercenaries shouting insults and threats at each other as they readied weapons for contract operations. No one paid him any further attention as he crossed the gravel yards toward the southern gate, passing under the flickering perimeter lights. As he approached the blast gate, 2 sentries in heavy exosuits stepped aside, barely glancing at him. Beyond the threshold stretched a bleak alien wilderness, vast open plains of crimson dust, broken by jagged volcanic ridges and towering alien trees with bioluminescent veins pulsing faint green under the pale starlight. The air was still dry and filled with the distant crackling of tectonic shifts deep underground. Lucas paused at the threshold, drawing a slow breath. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady on his rifle grip. For a moment he imagined the mercenaries laughing behind him, betting on his death before sunset. They would see. They would all see. He took his first step beyond the camp walls, boots crunching on alien gravel. The blast gate closed behind him with a hydraulic hiss, sealing him away from the safety of steel and numbers. Ahead only silence awaited. But deep in that silence, beyond the hills and glowing trees, he knew he was not alone. He adjusted his helmet interface, marking his patrol route, and began walking into the crimson plains, each footfall measured and quiet. Behind him, the mercenaries returned to their jokes and bets, unaware that the true measure of this rookie would not be revealed until dusk. And dusk was coming fast. The silence pressed against Lucas like a heavy blanket as he moved across the crimson plains. Each step sent small clouds of dust swirling around his boots, illuminated by the thin, flickering sunlight filtering through the hazy atmosphere. The moon's surface was bleak, strewn with jagged black rocks that jutted from the ground like broken teeth. Pale grasses grew in sparse patches between them, trembling in the faint, toxic wind. Lucas checked his helmet scanner feed. Static flickered for a moment before stabilizing, displaying a sweeping radar overlay of his surroundings. His patrol route snaked between two massive volcanic ridges before looping back towards the southern watchtower. He zoomed in, marking 3 possible mineral extraction shafts. One collapsed. He adjusted his rifle grip and continued forward. His thigh burned with each step where the strap had cut his skin earlier. He tried to ignore it, focusing instead on his breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 4. His instructors back on the frontier colonies had drilled that rhythm into him until it was automatic under stress. Calm mind, clear aim, living heart. A sudden flicker of movement to his left froze him mid-step. His eyes scanned the jagged ridge line. For a moment, nothing stirred. Then, near a dark split between boulders, something shifted. His helmet zoomed in, resolving blurred pixels into a mottled bone-armored carapace. His pulse surged. Razor lurk. The predator was nearly 2 meters at the shoulder, crouched low, its 6 legs tucked under plated flanks. Its head was triangular, armored with ridged bone plating, and serrated mandibles clacked softly as it tasted the air. Saliva dripped from its teeth, sizzling where it landed on the dusty rocks. Its slit-pupilled eyes glowed faint amber as they locked onto him. Lucas flicked off his safety and lowered to one knee, leveling his coil rifle's sights. He tried to calm his breathing, aligning the crosshairs with the razor lurk's eye slit. But a faint sound crackled through his earpiece, breaking his focus. "He's already seen one," came the insectoid sniper's rasping voice, thick with amusement. "Look at him shake. Does he even remember how to fire that antique?" Another voice joined in, deeper and crueler. 50 credits says he misses his first 3 shots. Any takers? Laughter followed, drifting through the comm channel from the watching mercenaries back at camp. Lucas's teeth clenched tight. He tried to block them out, focusing again on the creature before him. But then another shape emerged behind the first razor lurk. Then another. And another. 4 predators now. They moved with eerie silence, claws gripping rock, bone armor blending perfectly with the jagged landscape. Their mandibles clicked in unison as they spread out, encircling him with predatory precision. Static crackled as Captain Grov's voice rumbled through the channel. "Well, pink skin, let's see how long you scream." The razor lurk to his right lunged first. Lucas fired instinctively, the coil rifle whining as the magnetic bolt tore through the creature's front leg, shearing it off in a spray of viscous green fluid. The beast shrieked and collapsed sideways, thrashing and biting at its own stump. He swung the rifle left as another razor lurk pounced. Its claws slashed across his thigh, cutting deep through tactical fabric into flesh. Pain seared up his leg. He stumbled backwards, firing again, but the shot went wide, sizzling against a rock face. The third predator struck from his blind side, its massive weight slamming into his back. Lucas crashed face first onto the rocky ground, helmet cracking against stone. His rifle skittered out of reach, clattering across gravel. The creature's foul breath washed over his neck as it snapped at his shoulder, teeth scraping across his armor plates. He twisted desperately, driving his knee upward into its underbelly. It reared back with a wet screech. He rolled sideways, gasping, eyes burning with grit. His helmet feed flickered, showing the remaining 2 razor lurks circling him, their mandibles dripping, eyes glowing with savage hunger. "Listen to him squeal," someone chuckled over comms. "Pathetic." Lucas crawled towards his rifle, but the nearest razor lurk placed a massive clawed foot on it, pinning it to the ground. The beast lowered its head, mandibles parting to reveal rows of jagged teeth. Its breath reeked of rotting flesh and acid. He could see his reflection trembling in its yellow eyes. Desperation clawed at his chest. His breath came in ragged gasps as pain radiated from his thigh wound, blood soaking into his tactical suit. The second razor lurk approached from his other side, chittering low in its throat. Behind them, the fourth remained perched on a boulder, watching intently, waiting for its chance to feed. Lucas's hand scrambled across his chest, finding the small carved whistle hidden beneath his armor plates. He ripped the pocket flap open, fingers trembling as he closed around the smooth wood. The runes etched into its surface pulsed faint blue under his touch. His mind flashed with memory, moonlit forests back home, breath steaming in cold air, massive paw prints pressed into snow beside his own boot tracks. A growl deep enough to shake the earth vibrating under his feet as he stood beside something ancient and unbreakable. His eyes burned with tears he refused to shed. He raised the whistle to his lips and blew. The sound was thin, high, almost inaudible to human ears. But the effect was instant. The razor lurks froze mid-step, heads cocking to the side. Their slit pupils dilated, scanning the rocky ridge lines around them. An unnatural silence fell over the plains, so sudden and absolute that Lucas felt his pulse hammering like a war drum in his chest. Even through his calms, the mercenaries' laughter faltered. "What the hell was that?" someone whispered. Static crackled. Captain Grav's voice rumbled low and uncertain. "What did you just do, rookie?" Lucas said nothing. He kept the whistle pressed to his lips, blowing again, longer this time. The runes along its carved surface flared bright blue, casting pale light across his blood-streaked chest plate. From somewhere beyond the ridge, a low rumbling growl rolled across the plains. It rose and fell like distant thunder, rattling loose pebbles down the slopes. The razor lurks shifted uneasily, mandibles clacking in agitation as they scanned the horizon with twitching eyes. Another growl answered, closer this time. The alien trees at the far edge of the patrol route shivered as something massive moved between their glowing trunks. Dust rose in swirling spirals where it passed. The third razor lurk, perched atop the boulder, hissed and backed away, mandibles curling tight against its armored jaw. Then it appeared. A dark shape emerged between the trees, broad and low to the ground, moving with silent, predatory grace. As it stepped into the dim sunlight, Lucas saw massive paws sink into the crimson dust, each tipped with claws the length of combat knives. Its fur was pitch black, rippling with muscle, but along its shoulders and flanks were grafted titanium plating, etched with pale runic patterns. Each step it took was measured, silent, deadly. Its head lowered as it growled, bearing titanium-augmented fangs that gleamed like polished blades. Amber eyes glowed with an intelligent, cold light. The razor lurks recoiled, their chittering rising into shrieks of alarm. The creature raised its massive head, and for a single breathless moment, the plains fell silent in awe and fear. Then it moved. It lunged with impossible speed, jaws snapping around the nearest razor lurk's armored head. There was a sickening crunch as bone plates shattered under the force of its bite, green ichor spraying across black fur. The beast tossed the dead predator aside like a broken toy and pivoted smoothly towards the second. The second razor lurk tried to flee, scuttling backwards with a high-pitched shriek. But the black wolf leaped, landing atop it with claws ripping through its armored carapace, tearing deep into the soft organs beneath. The creature writhed once before falling still, steam rising from its spilled fluids in the chill air. The third razor lurk, seeing its packmates slaughtered, leapt from its boulder and sprinted towards the ridge line. The wolf turned, eyes narrowing. It opened its massive jaws and released a roar so deep and resonant it shook Lucas to his bones. The razor lurk faltered mid-run, glancing back in primal terror. That single moment of hesitation was all it took. The wolf bounded forward, covering 10 meters in a blur of muscle and steel. Its jaws closed around the razor lurk's throat, lifting it off the ground before slamming it down with bone-shattering force. The creature twitched once and lay still. The last razor lurk, pinned by its wounded leg, screamed as the wolf turned back towards it. The predator whimpered and tried to crawl away. The wolf lowered its head slowly, titanium fangs glinting under the gas giant's ochre glow. With a swift, savage bite, it ended its life. Blood dripped from the wolf's plated muzzle as it lifted its gaze to Lucas. Those amber eyes locked onto his, glowing bright with recognition and something almost like relief. Its growl softened to a low rumble as it stepped forward, massive paws silent against gravel. Lucas reached out with a trembling hand and rested it against the creature's cold titanium-plated neck. "Good boy," he whispered, his voice breaking with emotion. "Good boy." The wolf rumbled again, almost a purr, and pressed its armored forehead against his chest. Warmth radiated through the plating, grounding him, calming his ragged breaths. Pain throbbed through his wounded thigh, but he barely felt it now. Static crackled in his ear as the comm channel erupted in stunned silence. For several seconds no one spoke. Then, in a hushed, almost fearful tone, the insectoid sniper whispered, "Is that a Terran direwolf? I thought they were extinct." Captain Grav's voice came next, low and unsteady. "What the hell are you, rookie?" Lucas stroked the thick black fur along the wolf's neck, feeling its steady heartbeat echo through his fingertips. He lifted his gaze towards the distant mercenary camp, a faint smile touching his lips despite the pain and dust and blood clinging to his body. He slid his fingers along the wolf's armored collar, gripping tight as he whispered, "Let's go home." And together, they began walking back towards the camp, leaving the shattered bodies of predators behind them under the silent, watchful gaze of the distant gas giant. The walk back to camp felt longer than the entire patrol had. Lucas limped with each step, his thigh wound burning where blood soaked through the tactical suit. The massive black wolf walked close at his side, so near that its plated shoulder brushed against his arm with each stride. Its paws sank deep into the crimson dust, leaving wide prints beside his own narrow boot tracks. Together they moved in silence, the only sounds their measured breaths and the faint creak of titanium grafts embedded along the wolf's armored flanks. Ahead, the mercenary camp rose from the plains like a rust-stained fortress. Tall perimeter walls crowned with razor wire shimmered under flickering spotlights, and the twin watchtowers at the south gate rotated their cannons to track the newcomers. Lucas kept his eyes forward, ignoring the burning ache in his leg and the metallic taste of fear lingering in his mouth. Each time he faltered, a gentle nudge from the wolf's plated head steadied him. As they approached the south gate, the two armored sentries stepped back involuntarily. Their exosuit servos whined as they raised coil rifles, unsure whether to aim or retreat. The wolf growled low in its chest, eyes glowing bright amber as it fixed them with a cold, predatory gaze. One sentry swallowed audibly. "Stand down," Lucas rasped, voice hoarse from dust and exhaustion. "He's with me." The gate controls clicked under trembling fingers as one sentry hurried to obey. Hydraulic pistons groaned, pulling the blast doors aside. Lucas limped through without pause, the massive wolf at his heels. Inside the walls, the open yards fell silent. Dozens of mercenaries turned to stare. Conversations broke off mid-sentence. Cans of ration beer froze halfway to mouths. The insectoid sniper that had mocked him earlier clicked its mandibles nervously, 6 black eyes darting from Lucas to the towering wolf beside him. The armored humanoid that had bet on his scream shifted backwards, heavy boots crunching gravel. Captain Grave pushed through the gathering mercenaries, his thick tail sweeping aside crates and loose gear. He stopped 5 meters away, eyes narrowed to glowing green slits as he surveyed the newcomer. The wolf's ears flicked forward, titanium grafts along its skull plates humming faintly as its gaze locked onto the reptilian captain. "What is that?" Grave growled, voice low and rumbling like distant thunder. His clawed hand flexed against the grip of his plasma repeater. Lucas paused, steadying his breathing before speaking. "This is Fenrir." The wolf lowered its massive head slightly, yellow eyes never leaving Grave. Its plated shoulders rippled with coiled muscle as it adjusted its stance, claws scraping softly against the alloy landing pad. The mercenaries nearest the pair took a step back. Grave's nostrils flared as he drew himself taller, trying to regain control of the silent, watchful crowd. "A Terran direwolf," he said slowly, tasting each word with disbelief. "Those were hunted to extinction 2 centuries ago." Lucas raised a brow, though exhaustion weighed down even that small gesture. "Almost. Some found refuge in the frontier colonies. Some adapted." Grave's gaze narrowed further. His tail flicked again, rattling loose pebbles across the gravel. "And you think bringing a feral beast into my camp makes you untouchable, Pinkskin?" Lucas inhaled deeply, feeling the sting of every shallow breath in his ribs. He rested a gloved hand against Fenrir's plated neck, feeling the powerful heartbeat thrumming beneath cold titanium. The wolf's growl deepened at his touch, a low rumble vibrating through Lucas's palm. "He's not feral," Lucas said quietly. "He's my partner." The insectoid sniper stepped forward, its 6 eyes flicking rapidly as it gestured one clawed hand towards Fenrir. "A direwolf handler. I thought your kind only served the Earth High Frontier Rangers." Lucas's lips twitched in something like a tired smile. "Once." Grave's teeth clicked together as he exhaled sharply, flicking his gaze from Lucas to Fenrir and back again. "And what brings a High Frontier Ranger to my moon, carrying a weapon older than my grandmother and smelling of dirt and old blood?" Lucas said nothing for a moment. His eyes were flat and unreadable, shadows deep under his brow. Dust clung to his lashes, and blood had dried in a dark smear down his thigh plate. He shifted his weight, feeling Fenrir's plated shoulder brace his hip to keep him upright. "I'm here," Lucas said softly, "because your recruiters promised enough credits to keep my family fed for a year. And because out there," he nodded towards the crimson plains beyond the gates, "is the only place I still feel alive." Silence followed his words. Around them, the mercenaries watched, shifting uncomfortably under the wolf's unwavering gaze. The insectoid clicked its mandibles softly, glancing at Grave, then back at Lucas with something like nervous respect. Grave grunted, shaking his broad snout as if to clear it. "Your beast kills well. I'll give you that. Fenrir's growl rumbled again, deeper this time, vibrating the alloy underfoot. Grav stiffened, his tail freezing mid-swing. Slowly, his clawed hand eased away from his plasma repeater grip. Control your animal, human, he growled. Lucas's expression remained impassive. He only attacks threats. A ripple of uneasy laughter passed through the mercenaries, brittle and brief. The insectoid handed Lucas a sealed medkit, lowering its head slightly as it extended its claw. Lucas accepted it with a curt nod, then knelt down beside Fenrir, pressing his forehead lightly against the wolf's plated snout. The giant beast rumbled softly, its amber eyes flickering with brief, quiet affection. Captain Grav stepped closer again, towering over Lucas's kneeling form. You've bought yourself a day's reprieve, rookie. But know this. Lucas looked up, eyes dark and tired yet unafraid. If that animal turns on any of my men, I'll mount its head on my command post wall. Fenrir snarled low in his throat, titanium fangs flashing in the flickering camp lights. The surrounding mercenaries backed away further, boots scraping gravel, weapons lowered in silent deference. Lucas rose to his feet, wincing as his thigh burned with fresh pain. He doesn't answer to you, he said evenly. He answers to me. Grav's slit pupils contracted to narrow pinpoints as he leaned forward, breath hissing between sharp teeth. Then he chuckled, low and humorless, turning away to stalk back towards his command post. You'll do, he growled over his shoulder. For now. The gathered mercenaries began to disperse, whispering among themselves in hushed, hurried tones. Words like handler, direwolf, and death wish drifted through the dusty twilight air. Lucas ignored them, focusing instead on the slow, steady rise and fall of Fenrir's plated chest. He placed a hand against the wolf's side, feeling the powerful lungs expand under his palm. The sun dipped further towards the horizon, staining the crimson plains with shadows as alien stars blinked awake overhead. The drilling vibrations in the distance slowed, replaced by the rhythmic thrum of perimeter beacons powering up for night. Lucas closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deep the acrid scent of dust, oil, and burnt ozone. He felt Fenrir's nose press against his shoulder, a silent reminder of presence and purpose. The pain in his leg throbbed with each heartbeat, anchoring him to the present moment with its raw, bright edge. Finally he opened his eyes, staring out beyond the perimeter walls towards the gathering dark. Somewhere out there lay the true reason he had come to this moon. A purpose greater than credits or pride. Something that would require every skill, every ounce of courage and every drop of blood he had left. He ran his fingers along Fenrir's plated neck, feeling the thick black fur rise between titanium grafts. The wolf raised its massive head, scanning the silent mercenary camp with glowing amber eyes. Time to hunt bigger prey tomorrow, Lucas whispered. Fenrir growled softly in agreement, a low rumble that seemed to echo the distant thunder rolling across the plains beyond. And somewhere out there, in the growing darkness, shadows moved in anticipation of the storm to come. The sky above the moon had turned into a black canvas streaked with pale nebulae and cold stars. Perimeter beacons flickered against the darkness, casting shifting shadows across the mercenary camp's container stacks and armored vehicles. Lucas sat with his back against Fenrir's massive flank, feeling the rise and fall of the direwolf's breaths against his spine like the steady pulse of a living mountain. The warmth of the beast's fur soaked into his aching muscles, washing away the chill that crept into his blood. He finished rewrapping the gauze around his thigh wound and secured it with a strip of adhesive sealant from the medkit. The pain had dulled to a throbbing burn, manageable now that his adrenaline had faded. Above him, Fenrir raised his massive head to sniff the air, titanium grafts along his shoulders humming softly with the adjustment. The wolf's glowing amber eyes scanned the darkness beyond the perimeter walls, pupils dilated into wide black pools to drink in every flicker of movement. Voices murmured nearby. Two reptilian mercenaries in dull olive armor leaned against a plasma crate, speaking in low tones that carried across the silent yard. He's a handler, one hissed, eyes darting to Lucas and Fenrir. They say only a dozen are left in all the colonies. He could earn 5 million credits selling that beast to an admiralty lab. The other snorted. Or get himself space trying. Look at him. He's half dead already. Lucas ignored them. His gaze remained locked on the distant ridgeline where faint flashes pulsed against the black sky. Mining detonations, he told himself. But a thin coil of tension wound tighter in his gut each time the light flared. Fenrir's ears twitched with each flash, lips curling back to reveal titanium fangs. Static crackled in his ear as his comm implant flickered online. Sergeant Thrask's gravelly voice rasped through the channel. Echo Patrol, report to South Gate. We've got movement in Grid 9. Possible Razorlurk resurgence or a rival salvage crew testing our perimeter. Captain wants it cleared by dawn. Lucas glanced up at Fenrir, who rumbled softly in response. He pushed himself to his feet with a grimace, slinging his coil rifle across his back. The wolf rose beside him in a single fluid motion, towering above him by nearly a head. Together they crossed the yard towards the assembling patrol group near the south gate. 7 mercenaries stood there under the harsh white floodlights. Captain Grov loomed at their head, plasma repeater strapped across his back and armored tail sweeping slowly side to side with restless energy. His slit-pupilled eyes narrowed as Lucas approached. "You're coming with us, handler?" Grov growled, his thick voice vibrating in the cold air. "If your pet can tear apart Razorlurks, I want him at my flank tonight." Lucas met his gaze evenly. "He's not a pet." Grov's mouth curled into something that was almost a smile. "We'll see." The blast gates opened with a hydraulic moan, revealing the darkness beyond. The patrol moved out in a staggered wedge formation, coil rifles, plasma carbines and railshot launchers held at ready positions. Fenrir moved beside Lucas with silent, predatory grace, paws leaving wide prints in the dust that glowed faint green under the low starlight. The wolf's titanium plating glimmered with every ripple of muscle beneath thick black fur. They advanced across open plains scattered with twisted alien trees. The trees' glowing veins pulsed faint emerald, casting eerie shadows across broken stone and burrowed soil. The smell of sulfur and rust hung heavy in the thin air. Grov raised a clenched fist, signaling a halt. He turned his head slowly, scanning the horizon where flickers of movement danced between jagged rocks. Lucas squinted, switching his helmet to thermal overlay. Dozens of heat signatures skittered across the ridgeline, far too many for a Razorlurk pack. Grov's tail stiffened. "Salvagers," he growled. "Or pirates." A plasma bolt sizzled through the air, striking a mercenary in the shoulder with a burst of vaporized armor. The man screamed and collapsed, writhing in the dust. Instantly, the silent plains erupted in a cacophony of gunfire. Shapes rose from the rocks ahead, clad in mismatched armored suits painted in wild neon streaks. Their weapons flashed with coil discharges and plasma arcs as they advanced down the slope. Pirate scavengers, dozens of them, moving with practiced brutality as they poured suppressing fire towards the patrol. Grov roared, his plasma repeater snarling as he unleashed a stream of burning bolts into the nearest pirate line. The reptilian captain's tail lashed with every shot, claws digging into the dust for recoil bracing. Mercenaries scattered for cover behind rocks and alien tree trunks, firing back in ragged bursts. Lucas dropped to one knee beside Fenrir, sighting down his coil rifle at a pirate charging forward with a sawblade launcher. He squeezed the trigger, feeling the rifle kick against his shoulder as the magnetic bolt punched through the pirate's chest plate, dropping him instantly. "Fenrir," Lucas whispered. The wolf tensed, titanium plating locking into assault configuration with a mechanical hiss. Its eyes burned gold as it surged forward in a blur of black and steel. Pirates screamed as the massive beast tore into their lines, claws ripping through armor, jaws crushing helmets and bone beneath titanium fangs. Grov barked orders to flank left, his voice cutting through the chaos like a whip crack. Lucas advanced behind Fenrir, firing controlled bursts into panicked pirates who turned to flee the wolf's wrath. Blood sprayed across rocks and dust rose in choking clouds as the direwolf carved a path through enemy lines. One pirate swung a heavy plasma axe at Fenrir's head. The wolf twisted with fluid grace, jaws snapping shut around the attacker's arm and shoulder. With a brutal jerk, it tore half the pirate's torso away in a spray of blood and glowing cybernetic fluids. The pirate collapsed in twitching pieces, his axe clattering harmlessly to the ground. Grov advanced up the slope, repeater blazing, his massive form looming like an armored god of death. Pirates fell before him, some torn apart by plasma fire, others ripped down by Fenrir's fangs. Lucas followed close behind, rifle singing with magnetic discharges as he put down enemies with cold, precise shots. In the chaos, Lucas's mind felt eerily calm. Each breath came in steady rhythm, his heartbeat matching Fenrir's low growls. The pain in his thigh faded into a distant pulse, drowned by focus and purpose. Around him, pirates screamed and died, but he heard only the rush of blood in his ears and the deep rumble of Fenrir's rage. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. Broken armored bodies lay scattered across the rocks, their neon-painted plates cracked and torn by plasma fire and wolf claws. The few remaining pirates fled into the darkness, abandoning weapons and wounded alike. Grav lowered his repeater slowly, breathing hard through flared nostrils. He turned to look at Lucas, his eyes gleaming in the dim starlight. "You fought well, handler," he rumbled, voice thick with approval. Fenrir padded back to Lucas's side, fur matted with blood and dust. The wolf lowered its massive head, pressing it gently against Lucas's chest. He rested a shaking hand against the beast's plated neck, feeling its hot breath wash across his face. For a moment, silence reigned across the ridge, broken only by the distant howl of alien winds sweeping across the plains. Grav stepped closer, towering above them both. "This moon is about to become a war zone," he said quietly. "I could use a man like you." Lucas met his gaze steadily. "I didn't come here for your contracts, Captain." Grav tilted his head, slit pupils narrowing. "Then why?" Lucas turned his eyes towards the distant dark horizon, where faint flashes still pulsed beyond the far ridges. His voice was low, filled with a calm that bordered on cold. "I came here," he said, "because something out there hunts humans for sport. And tonight it took someone I loved." Grav was silent for a long moment, the wind hissing between his armored plates. Finally he nodded once. "Then let's hunt it together." Fenrir growled softly in agreement, massive tail sweeping low across the dust. Lucas raised his rifle, racking a fresh coil cartridge into the breech. The sound was quiet yet sharp, echoing across the silent battlefield. Together, under the pale alien stars and the looming gaze of the gas giant above, they turned towards the darkness where unseen horrors waited. The hunt had begun.